Alethea Felton, and welcome to the Power Transformation Podcast. If you're struggling in your life with self-sabotaging and negative thoughts that leave you feeling stuck and limit you from moving forward, I can help you. As a holistic health and empowerment coach, I help people identify, challenge, and conquer those thoughts in order to make simple and practical changes to improve overall wellness. Let's remove those limitations, for the time is now to create your power transformation. Hey y'all, this is Coach Alethea Felton, Coach Lily, and I welcome you to the Power Transformation Podcast. I want to give a special shout out to anybody who may be new to the podcast. I welcome you and I thank you for being a part of the Power Transformation Podcast community. And listen, while you're here, go ahead and follow or subscribe to the Power Transformation Podcast. Maybe you're new to listening to podcasts. This may be a start for you to join our community. And after you hear this episode, feel free to go back and listen to other episodes, and also share this with at least 2 people that you know. Go ahead and send them the link so that you can get others involved with what we are doing here. We are transforming and changing the world one episode at a time. And for those of you who are my faithful listeners, I welcome you back for yet a truly inspiring episode that we have today. And I have a phenomenal guest that I am honored to interview today. Now, look, as customary, what we do on the Power Transformation Podcast, we always start with an affirmation, because affirmations bring those things into existence. We speak them as if they already are, and we speak it with confidence. So I'm going to say it once, and then you repeat it. I am confident in my ability to experience fulfilling intimacy in my relationship. I am super happy, y'all, to have my guest today. This is a person that I go way back with, and I'm just honored that she is a part of the Power Transformation Podcast family right now, and that is LaJeana Hawkins. Hey, LaJeana.
Hey, Lily. How are you?
I am great. I am doing very well. Now, before we get started, okay, this is the question that I want to ask you, all right? Okay, just to kind of get to know you a bit more, okay? If you won a $50 million jackpot, or you got a $50 million inheritance, what would you do with that money?
I absolutely love this question. Let me tell you why. Because my husband and I, we have these random conversations. We talk about if we won the lottery, what would we do with our money? So I've had extensive conversations about this.
Oh my gosh.
Right. I'm like, we have some wild conversations. So if I would say we and I won $50 million, the first thing we said we would do is we would just take a vacation. Okay. We're taking a vacation and we bring in all our family and our closest friends. And we're like, look, get packed, meet us at the airport, bring your bag, and that's it.
That's right.
And we're treating everybody.
That's nice.
Because, you know, God, if I were to get that money, I want to bless others. In addition, we definitely have said that, you know, we put money away for our kids. We have 2 children, 2 daughters. We put money away for their future, and not just their college future, but hopefully some of that to set up something so they'd have some money down the road. We would pay off homes for like our parents. his sister put college fund money in for his sister's kids and things like that. And then pay off any debt we have remaining, because we want to make sure that we're good. And then, be able to start some other businesses, so that we can really have that money, leave a legacy for our kids' kids, and their kids.
That's right. So that it can continue growing.
Correct.
Yeah, because even after taxes, you'll still have a nice piece of change left, even after taxes, with that 50 million. And so I'm like, hey, and that's why I said that exact amount, only because nowadays, if I said, if you had $1 million,
that's nothing.
Now, that's great to have, but I was like, let me put inflation on it for 2023, 50 million. You can stretch that a little more.
Absolutely. So so it would be about, and then definitely would give back to our church. We have to give to our church, and also give to the community, because that's
of course. And I love that answer, and I think that's the perfect segue, because you said two key things that I want to highlight. First of all, you shifted and said, not I, but we, because you are a married woman. So we. And then secondly, you said businesses. And that is because you are an entrepreneur, and you are why I have you on my show, based on your niche. And you are a certified intimacy coach. Now, like we had spoke offline, you don't go around telling everybody, yes, I'm certified, but y'all listen carefully to what I'm gonna say. No shade to anybody out there doing their thing, but I'm a holistic health coach and life coach, two separate things, but kind of they go hand in hand. And she is a coach also, intimacy coach, but we have certifications, meaning we took extra training and coursework to be certified in these areas. So I like to give credit to people who have earned something extra so that they can be experts in their field. And you are an intimacy coach. Now, what is that? Explain that to us. What exactly is that?
So an intimacy coach, there are different aspects of intimacy as a whole, but I will talk about my niche and what I do specifically. So for me, I'm an intimacy coach, and my passion is dealing with Christian married or engaged women. And it's kind of helping them to kind of understand their deepest desires, be able to communicate effectively, and also to be able to have the intimacy in the marriage that they long for. When I say intimacy, I think people think, oh, she's only thinking about physical intimacy, or she's only thinking about sex. And that's one aspect. I mean, it's an important aspect. But there's also that piece of being able to communicate effectively, being able to be tied emotionally, being able to talk to that person, being able to share your heart with that person, being able to open up, being vulnerable. So those are aspects of intimacy that I kind of deal with. In addition, intimacy also involves the intellectual piece, the recreational piece. Are you having fun together? Are you able to do those things together? And the spirituality piece to it. So for me, it's kind of helping Christian women to really understand that their desires matter, and that they can share that with their spouse. And helping them be able to do so in a way that is shame-free, no judgment. I think for a lot of women, and I would say Christian women, there's not a space held for them to do that. There's not a space held for them to understand, the aspect of intimacy in a marriage. Not a space held for them to be able to know, it's okay for me to have this desire and be able to articulate with my husband and not be viewed a certain way.
Okay, I like that. Put a pause right there, because I'm going to come back to all of that. But what I want to ask you now is, okay, one day when you were a single woman, did you say, "Ooh, I want to do this one of these days," right? So let's go back. Tell us briefly, whatever you are comfortable sharing, tell us briefly how you went from I to we. What was your journey in even meeting your husband and marrying?
Okay, so well,
I like that laugh.
Right. So I am married to my amazing husband, Dane. We have been married 9 years. It was 9 years this past May.
How beautiful.
And I always wanted to have kids, but I all wasn't sure if I would get married. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
I know.
Okay.
So, like, I wanted to get married, but it wasn't like I was like, that's great. I want to if it works out. But I was like, oh, but I'm going to be a mom. I'm definitely going to be a mom. But I was like, okay, hopefully, if it's in the cards and God says it works out, it'll work out. So my husband and I, I dated a lot, and
ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey,
none of those worked out.
The right one, yeah.
Right, none of those worked. Thank God, none of those worked out. But my husband and I, we met from a mutual friend at our church, and we met at her wedding, and so we met. He had been attending the same church. I had attended a church, but it's a rather large church, so we never met. We both attended her ceremony, her wedding ceremony, and we sat next to each other. We started chatting. And after the ceremony, he asked me out, and I turned him down. Right, I turned him down.
You said nope.
I said why?
No. Why though?
Well, I didn't know him, and I don't know. I just at that point I was like, no.
Okay.
Yeah. So, long story short, apparently he told the bride that I had turned him down. As if, he was laughing. Like, I asked her, she wanted to get something to eat, and she turned me down. So fast forward 2 weeks later, I saw her at the church. And so, we were chatting, and she's like, oh, by the way, my friend told me that he asked you out. You kind of turned him down. Like, why? And I said, look, at this stage in my life, I need a character reference. Okay.
Girl, I feel you.
Yeah, I need someone that can vouch for this person, because I'm not into wasting my time. I'm tired. So she said, you know what? I know him really well. I know you really well. And I actually think you two would be a good match. I said, oh, well, give him my number.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yes. And so she gave him my number. He called me maybe a day or two later, and we have been inseparable ever since.
I love it.
Yes.
I absolutely love it. And y'all, I'll just add in a little small tidbit. So I did know she met her husband through church, and it is the same church that I am a member of. But when she first told me this, the funniest thing is I joked and said I had never seen him before in all of the years I have been at the church, because LaJeana was very active. I was very active. And at the time, for many years, I served on our church's praise and worship team. And you see practically everybody from the stage there. And I had never seen him until he started coming. And till he started sitting with her. And so I thought that was so funny about how he just, popped up one day, and I found out he had been there the whole time. So that was funny. He's a great person, though, a great person. So you met, dated, got engaged, married, okay? Yeah. Now, what led to this epiphany to say you wanted to become an intimacy coach? And did you have something to happen, or you sought one out for yourself? Tell us about that part of your journey.
So there are multiple pieces to this. So
Oh.
I will say I work in public health. I have been in public health field for the last 15 plus years. So I have a background in health. I'm an undergraduate. My undergraduate degree was in health sciences. So I didn't take a lot of health class. I took human sexuality. And I think that class really sparked my interest in, learning things about sex and sexuality that you don't typically hear, that's not widely shared. And so that was like, that's very interesting. But, I went on, I got my master's in public health. I worked in public health. And then let's say fast forward, you're hearing wives talk about intimacy in their marriage, even before I was married. And it always seemed like it was a chore. They weren't happy. The emotional intimacy was missing, or the physical intimacy piece was missing. And I'm like, why is it like that? I don't want it to be that way. I got married, and I will say, luckily, my husband and I communicate about everything. We talk to each other. He is as talkative as I am, which is very surprising. So we communicate about everything. And so for us, the emotional piece is there, the physical piece, everything is great for us. But I still hear other people, have issues in that area. And then, I love talk people. So I love to share information and get, tips and give tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. But I kept thinking, man, someone really needs to help some women. Like, I feel like when I would hear women, I don't want to say complain, but maybe talk about issues or concerns, I would think, I'm sure they're not the only one. And who do they go to? You know what I mean? Like, who do they talk to? Who do they have that's kind of in their corner who can help them? And I'm like, fast forward to, let's say 2020, maybe 2019, 2020, I still had decided to go full-fledged with being an intimacy coach. But I kept feeling a nudge from God saying, there's something else you need to be doing. Yes, you're doing this, you're doing that, but there's something else I need you to be serving on this planet. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, Lord. I'm not sure. So I actually worked with, shout out to Michelle McKinney, who it was my clarity coach.
Wow.
So I met with her, and we kind of mapped out, my skills, and things like that, and what I like and my interests. And then it kind of came full circle about, well, why don't you, this seems like what you would be great at, being an intimacy coach. And I was like, oh, this does seem like a perfect, and it's something I had thought about, not to maybe intimacy coach, just thinking about, I had thought about, would I become a sex therapist, things like that some years back. But when this came back around full circle, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I need to be doing. And I prayed about it. And I'm like, absolutely, like this checks all the things that are important to me. I love women and empowering women. I'm a wife now, so I can relate on that level. I'm a Christian as well. So I was like, I'll be an intimacy coach, but I'll focus on Christian women. So I feel like they just don't have someone that can help them, that can champion them, that can empower them. And so that's kind of how I landed on being an intimacy coach.
Wow, that's quite a journey. And I'm glad that you had Michelle there who could help kind of guide you to kind of see exactly what you wanted. Now, a lot of questions come out of that, but I want to ask you just briefly, although I know some listeners might not know, they'll say, okay, she's a Christian intimacy coach, but how is that different from a sex therapist? So what would you tell them?
Well, I will say therapy and coaching is very different. They're two different.
Right. Yes. Yeah. We are not therapists.
Yes, I am not a therapist. Will not claim to be a therapist. I am a coach. So therapy kind of looks at your past and things that have happened to kind of help you work through to where you are today. A coaching takes you from where you are today, determines your goals. You tell them their goals. They work together to kind of find you. And they work for you to reach those goals. So we're not, as a coach, I'm not going to bring up any trauma. I'm not going to work through anything like that. That's beyond the scope of what I can do. But if you have a specific goal that you need to work through in terms of maybe better communication, understanding how your body works better, understanding how to figure out what your desires are, what you like, things like that, I can help you kind of get from where you are now to be able to reach those goals. Mm-hmm. And so if in a coaching space, and as we're taught in coaching in your certification, if there would be something that would come up that I felt that you would need a therapist, I'll refer you out, because I'm not going to step in a lane that I don't have training for.
We ain't trying to get sued, y'all.
Oh, no. No.
That's right.
No.
I love it. So some of the topics can be similar in certain aspects, but Correct. Not all. Yes. So Correct. I just wanted to get that out of the way up front, is that these are different. Now, let's start to hone in more, because you empower Christian women to have further intimacy in their marriages. Let's talk about the word shame and mm-hmm. the word stigma. Mm-hmm. What do you find, or what have you found can be a stigma within Christianity when it comes to intimacy in marriages? What is that stigma? Why aren't we openly talking about it? We have a lot of talks about how to prep to be a wife and what a good wife does, and how to be a Proverbs 31 woman and all of that, right?
Yes.
But then after that, you don't hear a lot about it. And right. you have to keep that going in marriage.
Yes.
Why isn't it talked about?
Well, I'm not sure why it's not talked about. But I think the stigma happens even before. I think there's a stigma in general in Christianity and in society that you don't talk about sex. It's just it's something that happens, and some people do, but it's not something you talk about. Mm-hmm. And that's where I kind of have, an issue. You even think about, even in the school settings, I don't think they have courses anymore on, sex education. So where are people, if you're not talking about it in schools, if maybe, I don't know, my mom was very open with me, but if families aren't talking about it, if churches aren't talking about it, so where are you learning? You're learning from what you see on TV. You're learning from maybe magazines. You're learning from what you hear from other people and what they're kind of putting together. And so I think people are getting very incorrect messages about sex. And I think, like I said, the stigma is you don't talk about it. And I think you have to talk about it. I think sometimes in the Christian world, the thought is if you talk about it, then people will have sex. And I'm like, that's not true. Mm-hmm. I think if you talk about it, there's less, I want to say, if you can be educated properly, I think that's going to help people more in the long run. And I think not talking about it has this secrecy thing about it. Okay. And so that shows up also, I think, in marriages that, I think people, men and women, we have sex. I have sex with my spouse, but we don't talk about it. We just go in here and we do it.
Oh. Okay.
And I'm like, well, why don't you talk about it? Because you're brought up that you don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. So it's like a light switch. You can't, if you were always taught, we don't talk about that. We don't talk that. Shh. And then you get married. How do you feel comfortable all of a sudden with talking about a topic you were taught all your life you don't talk about?
Mm-hmm. So when a wife comes to you for your services and your assistance, do you do it as individualized coaching? Do you do it as group coaching? And what are some of the concerns or issues that you have found wives have brought to you so far?
So I am currently doing one-on-one coaching. So I deal with the wife, one-on-one, dealing with her issues or concerns specific to her. But I think there are a lot of different issues that wives have. I think one is being unfulfilled sexually. And I think some of that is, the way the society has talked about when they talk about sex. It's more from the male perspective and not from the female's pleasure standpoint. And so I think some wives don't realize that they're supposed to be receiving just as much pleasure. That's how God designed it and intended it to be. So, and then in them being unfulfilled, it's like, oh, I don't know that I can even say anything, or how do I broach this subject, or how do I tell him without, hurting feelings, messing up egos. There's also an issue of, I don't really know what I like. I don't really know my body. How, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, that's the issue. Or, mismatched libidos, somebody wants something more than the other person.
Yeah.
And what do we do? How do we find common ground when we're not on the same page with that, I would say also there are concerns about the emotional aspect of, I don't feel like we're emotionally tied. I don't feel connected like we used to be. So how do I get back to that? How do I help work through that? How do I, really be more vulnerable so that, I can totally open up and he can open up to me. And so we can be more emotionally connected. I mean, the list goes on. There are a lot of,
it really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you're working with that wife, how do you see, and this is broad because each person's different, right?
Yes.
How do you see that wife from day one of working with you till the end of the program or the contract? How has she been transformed? How is she empowered? How is she like, yeah, I got this? What have you seen? And what do you think has caused that confidence?
Well, so from day one, like I said, when a wife comes to me and it says, I have this issue, concern, or whatever it may be, we kind of walk through, okay, so what is it? And how would you like to see this differently? What's the end goal? How would you like to see this changed? And so once we've kind of talked about the goals and what they want to see, then we go through a step-by-step process, depending on what the issue is and how long it would take us to get there, of kind of having her transform, in a lot of ways, her thought process, her mindset of how she sees herself, how she views intimacy as a whole, how God has designed it in the marriage perspective. And I think a lot of it at the end is kind of, I would say doing this like aha moments. Like it's okay to think this, kind of having them to reevaluate their thought process and things that they've learned and being able to kind of deconstruct that with the actual information of what they need to move forward. And so I think it's like, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. Oh, okay, well that's really helpful. I okay, so I can say this,
Yeah.
Okay, and it's not bad if I want to do this, and it's not wrong, if I do X, Y, and Z, or and I like to give practical tips that they can use and implement. I always give after every session, you're going to have exercise or exercises that you need to do either with yourself or with your spouse. I will say, when a wife comes to me, I always tell them, you're coming to me and you're married, so you need to share with your husband. You need to this is not something we're going to do in secrecy. You need to let him know that you are coming and you're working with an intimacy coach, because there are going to be exercises that I give that require his input, that requires his help, that he needs to be involved in, So while I'm working with the wife solely, the husband has to get involved. And I say, husbands, most of them, they're like, okay. Yeah. They're okay. Because I think in any marriage, you want to keep thriving. You want to be thriving and building and growing. So if it's something that's going to help, then, they're on board as well.
So let me ask you this, because you have known me for nearly 20 years almost. And you know me as, been a long time. And you know me as Lily. Okay. So Lily gonna ask you a question. Okay.
Come on, Lily.
And this is based on your expertise, maybe also opinion, but I'm taking in everything. And as you know, from my history, I've not been married. I have been engaged. Engaged. So when people ask me, I say, I've been engaged and possible, kind of like, spades in a way, possible, right? So I've had one official engagement.
Okay.
And I had in my most recent relationship that ended a year ago, it was a courtship leading to marriage. Okay. This is my just transparent question that my mind is wondering. What is it that it seems that when the Christian wife says I do, and y'all audience, listen carefully now. I'm not generalizing everybody, but I'm going to ask a very direct question because we are mature enough to ask it. What happens from the time people are single to when they say I do? Oftentimes with the person they marry. Now, I'm not saying everybody is in this case, but I have read and done research on it. A lot of Christian married couples have sex before they are married. I'm not saying every Christian couple, okay? Okay, but a lot of us do. And my question is, what happens with certain couples that once they say I do, that intimacy that a lot of them had during that courtship and everything else seems to kind of wane some.
Right.
What are you finding just in your practice and in your work? What are some of the causes of that?
Well, I think there are a variety of reasons. I think one is, like he said, folks do have sex outside of marriage before marriage. And I think some of that, it's forbidden fruit, it's exciting.
Yeah.
We ain't supposed to do this. Oh, I want to do this. You know what I mean? Some of that. But I also think that after you get married, I think I'm not going to put it on any gender, but I think that a lot of things that people do prior to marriage, like you said, courting, dating, doing those things where you're getting dressed up and you're making sure you're giving them gifts and you're doing all these things that they like. You're speaking their love language. You're being intentional. A lot of those things not all, can start to wane once you get married. You factor in, now we're handling a household. Now we got kids are running around. Maybe we're taking care of elderly parents. We have this. And so a lot of that falls to the wayside. And that's why, people always say, you got to date when you're married. You got to date. They're not saying that just to be a broken record. It is true. The same thing that you did to get you down that aisle, you have to continue that in marriage. It can't stop once you say I do. And it can't be sporadic. You have to be very intentional. I think people lose that. They're going through the rigmarole of daily life, and they're focusing on all their other roles in life. And they're kind of putting that role of being husband and wife and that intimacy pocket on the back burner.
That makes perfect sense. It really does.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Yeah. I'm like, you gotta put the time and energy into it with anything, And
the work. Yeah, work.
Yes, it does. Yeah. It does take work. And I get it. People are tired. I'm tired.
And you love your husband and got a great marriage.
I love. Yeah. They say my man. I love my man.
Yeah.
You still have to put the work in. And I know, trust me, that's why I say I get it. I know it's not easy. But if you don't, you're going to end up being roommates. Who wants that? You're just kind of both there moving and doing you're helping with the kids, you're going to work, you're doing the same thing, but you're not really putting any time and effort into your marriage.
That's excellent. Y'all, that's definitely a drop in that bucket. So married couples continue to date each other, continue to enjoy each other, be intimate, have lots of sex, even outside of the sex part, just be intimate with each other and keep that going. You know, I think about my parents who have been married 46 years almost. And that,
I love it.
Yeah. They've had their ups and their downs. They are at a great place, of course. And, you know, I can say that it didn't just happen by chance that they have been married this long. And so it does take that work. Now, when you're coaching an engaged woman, how does your coaching differ than, say, with her being married? Is it more of the preparation for intimacy during marriage?
Yes, so it is. It's more of that prep. It's more about thinking.
I should have talked to you.
You come on.
I sure am. It's no more counterfeits. I'm definitely coming to you next time.
Come on. So we're going to work this out. Come on.
That's going to be the last time. That's going to be the one.
I'm with you. I'm believing that for you.
Yes, girl. I'm serious. I'm serious. Because I'm like you. I'm just at the point now where I'm like, yeah, let's, I'm tired. So yeah. Okay.
I get it. I get it. But back to your question. Yes, it's more the preparation. I think, you know, in the Christian space, we do a lot of premarital counseling, which I'm a believer in. Okay. I do it. Yeah. But I know, and I've gone through premarital counseling more than just with my current husband, but that's for another whole conversation. But
girl, yes, that will be offline for both of us. So stay focused. Go ahead.
The one piece I don't think they really dive into is that intimacy piece. You know, I think
true. I agree. I agree with that. 10,000%.
Yeah, they'll talk about, you know, I did have conversations or discussions about like expectations and things like that, but it wasn't about the intimacy part of marriage. And I do think, you know, we're people, we're human, we have our own expectations of what we think things are going to be. We come into our marriage with those expectations, but in a lot of situations, those expectations are not shared. So you don't share them. And then when they're not met, you're upset, you're frustrated, you're stressed out. You know what I mean? But you didn't share that. So for an engaged woman, my goal is, what are your expectations? Like, what do you expect? Like in terms of dating, what do you want your date life to like when you get married? You know, let's talk about that. What in terms of sex, how often would be feasible for you? Like how often do you think? I mean, those are the kind of things you really need to think about, because if you're marrying someone that's like, I want to have sex every night, and you're like, I only want to have sex 2 times a week, you all need to discuss that and come to some kind of common ground and figure out what's going to work for you. You know, do you know your love language? Do you know your fiance's love language? Have you all discussed those things? Have you all talked about that? You know, do you know what makes you feel loved? Have you communicated those things? Because that's important. You know, what in terms of your desires, have you communicated, you know, those things? And what would you feel comfortable with in marriage? Have you talked about that? Do you know what you're comfortable with? Or, you know, what are your off limit things? Like, know that beforehand, because those are conversations you should have. I think, you know, some people get married and like, well, I thought we were going to do this. Well, I don't want to do that. Well, I didn't know that. Well, those are conversations I think you should be having. There's nothing wrong with talking about it. There's nothing wrong with having those conversations. Those conversations should be had prior, just like you're prepping about your bills in premarital classes.
That's right.
About, the division of labor, and you're talking about, you know,
like family aspects, holidays. How are you going to split those? Yes.
You need to have those conversations are just as important and need to be talked about. It can't be swept under the rug and we'll just figure it out. No. You need to talk about that beforehand.
That's perfect. Yeah, that is absolutely perfect. And I think that more people may even be more inclined to premarital counseling if all of those bases are covered.
It's so important. So I think, like I said, people have their expectations of what it's going to look like, but they're not discussing it. And then they're married, and then they're disappointed, or they're upset, or they're frustrated. And I think a lot of that can be eliminated, or they can be worked through prior if you had all of those discussions before you walk down the aisle.
Now, earlier, and as we come to a close shortly, I just want you to touch on something. So earlier you mentioned that intimacy goes far deeper than just sex, which is true. Say a married woman is coming to you saying, just in general, I need some examples of how to be more intimate in my marriage and with my husband, without sharing everything, because I am going to give you space so that you can share all of your contact information so that you can get paying clients. Okay, paying clients, but
Amen.
But share a few examples for our listeners. Someone who could say, I really do want to work on intimacy in my marriage. What are a few practical examples that wife can do?
One of the things I would say, and this would be an exercise that would require the husband and the wife, but emotional intimacy, like I said, is a big piece. And a lot of times I would say your emotional intimate connection, a lot of times has an effect on your physical connection. So if you're really emotionally tied, a lot of times your physical connection is going to be better. So if that's not there and you feel like, we're just not as connected as we used to be, I feel like things are a little bit off, I would say dedicate 10 to 15 minutes every evening with husband and wife. Make sure there are no distractions. Maybe after the kids are put to bed, the TV is off, the phones are down, we're putting all that stuff away. And for the next 10 to 15 minutes, you all need to just have a conversation. Talk about your day. Talk about what happened that day. Talk about what's on your heart. Talk about, maybe share some of your goals. Like, you spend that time really just connecting on a deeper level, and really kind of getting back to the heart of your relationship. And I'd say do that 10 to 15 minutes every day and put everything aside. Maybe even put a timer on, and then listen to each other. Listen to each other, let that person talk, listen to really understand them, and then you go ahead and talk and share your fears, share your hopes, share your dreams, share all those things that maybe you used to talk about that you all stopped because you're in the hustle bustle of life. And you keep doing that's going to be a great exercise that's going to help you to feel more connected to one another.
Like that. I hope y'all wrote notes. If not, rewind it. If you haven't, what about an older couple? Now, say, because look, just because a person has been married 40 and 50 years, yes, they got a lot of wisdom in this area. But I always think that wisdom is just not based in age. So although you and your husband have been married a shorter period of time than, say, those longer couples, what if a wife who's an older person says, we check in, we communicate, we don't have kids in the house anymore? What could an older couple do to increase intimacy?
Well, I would say some of the same things. I think no matter what age age of your marriage, some of the same tools that I have in my toolkit will apply. Like, I would ask them, are you making time to date? Are you dating? Because I think the kids are out the house. Yeah, but you could be in the house, the kids are gone, and you guys can feel lonely because you're in different parts of the house. One's reading the book, one's on the phone, are you actually making time to spend together, doing something, going somewhere? I think another good thing is, even for older couple, is, are you doing something to have fun together? Pick up a new hobby or an activity together. What's something you both would like to do that you've never done? because there's something about doing activity that you've never done together that kind of can bring two people together, and that shared kind of activity. So I would say, is there something you both would have always thought, well, we should do this? Go ahead and set up a time and do that together. I mean, like I said, maybe a new hobby, maybe an activity, maybe a trip. There's no kids there. The sky's the limit for those folks. Do something like that to kind of help you all kind of get back connected.
Oh, wonderful. Closing question prior to getting your info. What do you absolutely love about being married?
I like that question. I mean, I love my husband, but I think the thing I love for me about being married is having someone who has my back 24/7. I mean, my husband, he does. I feel safe with him. I feel so safe. It's just such, and I don't know. I know, like for me, it's great. Like that's my person. I have that person, and I have her, and we both say that God brought us together. You know that we met for a specific time or a specific reason because we were supposed to be married. But it feels good just having that person. You know, he is my best friend. We talk about everything. And I appreciate that I can just be who I am solely with someone, and they accept me, flaws and all.
I love that. And before we get your info, I like to kind of close out my shows, especially with people I know, really saying something from the heart. And I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm going to say. I'm in my early 40s now, as you know, I'll be 42 in August, but we first met when I was in my 20s. And your character and your integrity have been consistent over all of these years that I've known you. Something else, and I make it a little emotional saying that, I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want to generalize everybody. But I find specifically, especially in our culture, a lot of sometimes insecure married folks who at times think if a person is single, that they're spying for or out to get somebody's husband that's married. Honey, that gets under my collar so much because most people I know personally who have had extramarital affairs, etc., it's been amongst other married people. And so this whole stigma of single people and you can't be friends with a person that's single and all this kind of stuff, to each his or her own. But when I ask a question about what do you love about being married, it is because I too believe in marriage. And despite my past and history and things that I've learned from and grown from, I'm at a point, should God say so, I'm prepared to be a wife. I'm able to be found, and I'm going to keep living my very best life until then. But it is because I want to get the message out that marriage is still a great thing. It's still a beautiful, beautiful covenant. It's still hope in marriage. And so being single, that inquiry isn't because I'm like, ooh, look at her man. No, it ain't nothing like that. It's because you are my sister friend and I know your character and I knew you pre-marriage, pre-kids, and I know you now. And I want to say that what you shared tonight is very encouraging, very uplifting, gives me ideas for when I'm even a wife. And I just thank you for trusting me with your platform and for accepting the true open invitation to be a guest on my podcast. And I'm very grateful for you. But I just wanted to put it out there because I'm not married. I don't have that experience. Engagement, yes. But no, I've never said I do. And so having you up here, people might say, well, she's never been married. Why would she have a coach on like this? Because my listeners are diverse and I can too learn anything from any of my guests.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored, like you said, I've known you for years, Lily.
Yeah. So yeah.
You know, I am happy to be here and talk about this topic. I think it's important, like you said, and no matter if you're married, unmarried, this is a topic I think everyone needs to discuss because intimacy, you got to date to get married.
Yeah. So. Nuh-uh, girl. He's just gonna come knocking at my door, said no one ever.
Right.
Get out there.
Correct.
Get out there. Look here, girl. Let's talk about how people can connect with you. I'm also have it in my show notes, but I have guests to just share in case somebody doesn't read it. But how can people get in contact with you specifically if they want resources and coaching from you?
Absolutely. So you can visit my website, www.theintimacytourguide.com. You can also find me on Instagram at The Intimacy Tour Guide. And I also have a YouTube page. Yeah, that's fairly new. So also at The Intimacy Tour Guide as well.
Perfect. And I'm going to have links to this.
I would also say, if any of your women listeners are interested, I have a monthly monthly email blast I send out twice a month, and I always provide tips. So I share a little bit more in my email that social media gets censored. So I'm able to speak a little freely on my email. So I always provide some kind of tip or something that would help them in some aspect of intimacy. And those go out twice a month. So if people are interested, you can sign up for my website, or there's also a link in my bio on Instagram.
Oh, that's wonderful, LaJeana. Oh, girl, I am so thankful for you. I love you so much. And I hope and pray the best for your marriage, for your children, for your business, for everything. May continued abundance just pour on your life. May you never lack. May you never go into a season of want. May you have a prosperous marriage all of the days of your life in Jesus' name. All of my followers know I am a follower of Jesus Christ. So,
amen.
So despite what anyone else views, I'm going to love you anyway, but they know where I am. And so that's why I end that prayer with that, just hoping and trusting the best for you, because you have prayed over my life for so many years. And I am here today off of the prayers of so many who have loved me. The fervent, effectual prayers of the righteous truly availeth much. And I thank you and I bless you and I wish you all of the best, honey. I love you.
Thank you. Love you too, Lily. Thank you so much.
Woo, y'all. I am so grateful for LaJeana. Please, 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 please pass this episode to as many people as you know, especially to married women that you know. And although her specialty is with Christian women, this can apply to all women, all wives. So please pass this episode on. I am so grateful that she shared what she did today, and take a listen to it as many times as you have to. We're going to go ahead and close out with our affirmation. I'll say it once and you repeat it. I am confident in my ability to experience fulfilling intimacy in my relationship. If If you enjoyed today's show, then you don't want to miss an episode. So follow the Power Transformation Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you usually listen, and remember to rate and review. I also invite you to connect with me on social media at Alethea Felton. That's at ALETHEAFELTON. Until next time, remember to be good to yourself and to others.